You know, when you picture a genius, there's a good chance you see this face, right? The wild hair, that little twinkle in his eye, Albert Einstein. His name is basically a synonym for genius. But behind that famous image is this incredible story of struggle, of revolution, and a whole lot of moral conflict.
So let's really dig into that. How on earth does a guy who starts his career evaluating inventions at a patent office, I'm talking about things like gravel sorters and early typewriters, end up completely rewriting the laws of the universe and becoming like the world's first celebrity scientist? That's the story we're going to unpack right now.
So our story doesn't begin in some fancy university lab. Nope, it starts in a quiet office in Bern, Switzerland. This is where Einstein, a guy who couldn't even get a teaching job, would quietly start a revolution that would change everything.
And this right here really shatters the whole myth of him being this perfect prodigy from day one. I mean, get this. His parents were actually worried he had a learning disability because it took him so long to start talking. He absolutely hated the rigid school system of his day. He even called its focus on memorization just poison for creativity. He even failed part of his college entrance exam, and after he finally graduated, he spent 2 whole frustrating years just trying to find an academic job. This was not a smooth ride.
So, in the end, his only real choice was to take this civil service job. But, some people argue this was actually a blessing in disguise. Think about it. His job forced him to think about the nitty-gritty principles of mechanics and electromagnetism every single day. Not in some abstract, theoretical way, but in real, practical devices. So while his days were spent looking over schematics for things like gravel sorters, his mind was free to wander, to grapple with the biggest mysteries of the cosmos. What is light? What is time? What is space itself?
And then came this year, 1905. Historians actually call it his annus mirabilis, his miracle year. And get this, while he was still working that patent office job, a 26-year-old Einstein published 4 papers that would completely turn physics on its head.
Just look at this. It is absolutely mind-blowing. In one single year, he explains the photoelectric effect, which basically showed that light can act like a particle, laying the groundwork for all of quantum theory. Then he proves that atoms are real by explaining why pollen jiggles around in water. Then he just casually redefines our entire concept of space and time with special relativity. And as if that wasn't enough, he gives the world its most famous equation, E equals mc squared, revealing that mass and energy are really just 2 sides of the same coin. It's just an explosion of genius that has never, ever been matched.
But Einstein was not done, not by a long shot. After turning physics upside down in 1905, he set his sights on an even bigger target, Sir Isaac Newton and his 200-year-old theory of gravity.
Now, this is one of the most beautiful and elegant ideas in all of science. Einstein basically said, hey, what if gravity isn't some mysterious force pulling things together? Instead, he proposed that massive objects like our sun literally bend and warp the very fabric of space-time around them. So planets aren't being pulled by the sun, they're just following the straightest possible path through this newly curved space. It's like the old saying goes, matter tells space-time how to curve, and space-time tells matter how to move.
Okay, but how in the world do you prove a theory that sounds that wild? Well, Einstein made a very specific, very testable prediction. He said that if space-time is really curved, then the sun's immense gravity should actually bend the light from distant stars as it passes by. And the only way you could possibly see that effect from Earth would be during a total solar eclipse, when the sun's own blinding light is blocked. The entire scientific world, you can bet, was holding its breath.
And this headline says it all. An expedition led by the British astronomer Sir Arthur Eddington went out and photographed the stars during the 1919 eclipse. The measurements were crystal clear. The starlight had bent, just as Einstein's theory predicted. The news just exploded across the globe. Almost overnight, this humble patent clerk became a true international icon.
But this new level of fame, it came with this immense public responsibility. The man who had reshaped our understanding of reality now had to figure out how to navigate a world that was spiraling into chaos, and it forced him to confront the moral duties that came with his own genius.
You see, as a very prominent Jewish intellectual, Einstein was an immediate target for the Nazis. He happened to be visiting the US when Hitler became chancellor, and he knew right away he couldn't go back. He renounced his German citizenship, his books were publicly burned in massive rallies, and the regime actually put a price on his head. He was now a refugee, and he eventually found a new home in Princeton, New Jersey.
And this is where we see what was probably the deepest conflict of his entire life. On one hand, Einstein was a devoted pacifist. He called war a disease. But in 1939, he was faced with the terrifying possibility that the Nazis might develop an atomic bomb. So, urged by his fellow scientists, he used his influence. He signed a letter to President Roosevelt, warning him of the danger and strongly recommending that the U.S. start its own research program.
And that decision, it truly haunted him. Just a year before he died, he told a friend about his deep, profound regret. The pacifist, who had unlocked the secrets of the atom, felt like he had helped unleash its most destructive power upon the world. But he never stopped using his voice for good. In America, his new home, he was just horrified by racial segregation, calling it the country's worst disease. And he didn't just talk the talk. As you can see here, he joined the NAACP, he offered to be a character witness for the great scholar W.E.B. Du Bois, and he personally opened his home to the sinner Marian Anderson when a local hotel refused to give her a room because she was black.
His fame was just this really strange and unique thing. So at the premiere of the movie City Lights, he and Charlie Chaplin were met with this thunderous applause. And Chaplin, as you can see from this quote, just perfectly captured how surreal Einstein's celebrity was. He was loved by millions of people who couldn't even begin to understand the work that had made him famous in the first place.
And you know, he faced his own end with that same clarity and conviction he brought to his science. In 1955, he was suffering from a ruptured aneurysm, and he just calmly refused surgery. He had done his share, he said, and he was going to meet death on his own terms.
Which really leaves us with this final thought. Einstein's life, it pushes all of us to ask a really profound question. Is it enough for a genius to just expand our knowledge of the universe? Or does a great mind have a deeper obligation to fight for justice, for peace, and for the moral conscience of the very world it helped to create?